Now on KOAM News at 5, area healthcare providers say they've noticed some confusion about COVID vaccine booster shots.
For the first time, President Biden addressed world leaders at the United Nations General Assembly. I'm Michael George with the message he sent about America's foreign policy.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Local health officials see confusion in the community surrounding booster doses of COVID vaccine. This is KOAM News at 5. To them, it's not a surprise. President Biden for several weeks talked about making booster doses available to the general population starting yesterday, but on Friday, an FDA advisory committee shot it down, at least for now, recommending instead booster doses for people who are 65 and older and people at high risk of having severe disease. But they're not currently able to get an additional shot either.
They're not really focused and defined at this point. So I really do think that what's going to end up happening is once the CDC Advisory Committee meets, they meet the 22nd and the 23rd, so Wednesday and Thursday of this week, that they'll really define the criteria for those that are considered high risk.
Until vaccine providers get the sign-off to start those booster doses, the only group eligible for an additional dose of any kind is people who are immunocompromised. Tonight at 6, we're going to have a more inclusive breakdown of what happens next. The United Way of Southwest Missouri and Southeast Kansas kicked off its 2021 campaign today with a drive-through agency rally. This was the first year they hosted a drive-through rally, which took place at Missouri Southern's Robert Plaster Sports Complex. During last year's campaign, the United Way raised $650,000. This year, they hope to reach $700,000.
Over the past year, we think about the healthcare workers, we think about teachers, and they've done great work. Many of our nonprofits have provided equally important work in our community, and we're here to celebrate that today as we launch and kick off the United Way campaign for 2021.
United Way will host another drive-through rally tomorrow at Pitt State's Bicknell Family Center for the Arts from 11:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. Nick Kelly, a nice day out there.
Yeah, we definitely deserved it too, though, after we had to deal with showers and thunderstorms from about this point until late last night. Nothing but clearing skies out there from 7th and Range line, and again, it's nice to see the radar network not getting a workout this time around as we get this evening underway. Not only that, after we had to deal with our morning rain and thunderstorm chances, we've seen skies turn partly to mostly sunny all day, and our front is well to the south and east of us now, and nothing immediately behind this front. So good indication we're going to keep things quiet this time around for tonight. As far as temperatures go, look at these numbers. We're in the lower to middle 70s. Felt really good to be outside. Now, the northerly breeze is still up there at about 10 to 20 miles per hour, but it's going to lighten up as we go throughout the rest of the evening. And we got to get ready for a cool night now because we'll be starting around 71 to 6. We'll drop into the upper 40s for tomorrow morning, but we're looking good for tomorrow and the next several days. We'll break down the forecast here in a bit.
Catch you then. President Biden today delivered his first address to the United Nations General Assembly. He urged the world's nations to work together better when it comes to climate change and the COVID-19 pandemic, and he promised the U.S. will lead the way. Reporter Michael George is at the UN with the latest.
His Excellency Joseph R. Biden, Jr.
In his speech to the UN General Assembly, President Biden addressed a cascade of crises and declared America is back to help fix them, starting with the COVID-19 pandemic that's taken the lives of 4.5 million people worldwide.
Bombs and bullets cannot defend against COVID-19 or its future variants. To fight this pandemic, we need a collective act of science and political will.
In his 35-minute speech, he promised additional U.S. commitments to advance the fight against the coronavirus. He'll follow up Wednesday with a virtual COVID-19 summit at the White House. He also promised to work with Congress to double U.S. aid to poor countries to help tackle climate change.
The scientists and experts are telling us that we're fast approaching a point of no return in a literal sense.
In his speech, President Biden did not address the chaotic exit of U.S. troops from Afghanistan, but said ending the 20-year war will allow the U.S. to focus on addressing other world problems.
Instead of continuing to fight the wars of the past, we are fixing our eyes on devoting our resources to the challenges that hold the keys to our collective future.
He also addressed tensions with China.
We are not seeking a new Cold War or a world divided into rigid blocs.
The UN Secretary General warned it will be impossible to address some of the biggest challenges with the world's two largest economies at odds. Michael George, CBS News, the United Nations.
This evening, back at the White House, President Biden is meeting with UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson, who has praised the, quote, very different mood in Washington when it comes to climate change. Outrage is growing over footage that shows U.S. agents rounding up Haitian migrants at the southern border. The Secretary of Homeland Security, Alejandro Mayorkas, is promising a swift investigation into the video. Mayorkas says he believes there are now fewer than 10,000 migrants still camped at Del Rio. An additional 600 agents were sent in to help with the crisis and deportation flights. Still ahead, supply chain issues hitting the toy market.
It's still 3 months from Christmas, but it might be time to get started on your kids' wish list. I'm Anthony Purra with why toys could be harder to find this holiday season.
And next in Healthwatch, schools nationwide are reviewing their COVID policies in cases among kids skyrocketing. Topping today's Healthwatch, mothers who smoke during pregnancy are more likely to have smaller babies, even if they have a full-term pregnancy. Canadian researchers looked at more than 9 million deliveries to track the effects of smoking on the health of babies, noting babies with low birth weight can face long-term health consequences. They also found smoking mothers had a 40% increased risk of premature birth. The pandemic is endangering children right now at an alarming rate. More than 925,000 kids have tested positive for the coronavirus since mid-August. Some schools have been forced to close, and as Nancy Chin reports, others are taking a new approach.
A COVID vaccine for kids as young as 5 could be weeks away, and a shot for younger children could come soon after, according to Pfizer's Senior Vice President, Dr. Bill Gruber.
We have studies now ongoing in 2 to 4-year-old children, as well as 6 months to 2-year-old children.
But in parts of the country, vaccination rates for eligible kids remain low. Just 42% of U.S. children ages 12 to 15 are fully vaccinated, and more than 2,000 schools in 39 states have stopped in-person instruction due to outbreaks. To keep students in class, school districts are changing tactics. In New York City, Mayor Bill de Blasio announced the city would begin randomly testing unvaccinated consenting students every week instead of every 2 weeks.
When there is a positive test, the unvaccinated students in the classroom will not have to quarantine if they are masked and 3 feet distanced.
But the teachers union president is calling those rules ill-considered, adding that the ability to keep kids 3 feet apart and masked is a fantasy.
The mayor did an amazing thing.
Still, Daniela Gimpel, whose 3- and 7-year-olds are currently enrolled in city schools, says she's encouraged by the city's new approach, one that's closer to the CDC's guidelines.
What does a policy like this do for people's lives?
It was very difficult last year. I feel that they used testing to shut schools down. And I'm hoping that this year they use testing to keep them open, to show that schools are safe and to keep school going through the whole year.
Nancy Chen, CBS News, New York.
Joplin School District says they are not currently anticipating any changes to their COVID policies should Pfizer get FDA authorization for the vaccine for 5 to 11-year-olds. 1 in 5 parents say their children have been eating fast food more often since the pandemic started. That's according to the new C.S. Mott Children's Hospital National Poll on Children's Health. Around 40% of parents reported being too busy to cook, and 1 in 5 said they were too stressed. Parents with kids who are overweight were more likely to report those challenges. And getting the recommended amount of sleep every night could lead to healthier snacking. An Ohio State University study looked at data on nearly 20,000 Americans and found a link between not getting 7 or more hours of sleep and eating more snacks with carbs, added sugar, fat, and caffeine. Lack of sleep is associated with a higher risk of obesity, diabetes, and heart disease. And that is a look at today's health news. A little bit later, one of China's top real estate developers is at risk of defaulting on its debt interest payments.
But first, we got to get set for a cool night ahead of us before we look at the pretty good start to the fall season tomorrow. Forecast up next. We had thankfully a much better day compared to the hot Monday we had to put up with, and not to mention the rain and thunderstorms that fired up ahead of the cold front before it swept on through. You can see how the storms really came to life as we worked through yesterday evening, certainly last night and early this morning. But notice how Mother Nature was kind enough to clear things out as we went throughout the course of the day. In its wake, though, all this rain has pretty much led us to our best shot for rain for the entire week, as a matter of fact. But we'll take whatever we can get. 0.7 of minutes of rain on the average, with some spots around Pittsburgh, Joplin, and the southwestern Missouri, and even down toward Grand Lake, picking up a brunt of the rainfall. Certainly quite a bit of rainfall that we've picked up, but we're getting the chance to dry out now. And not to mention, sea skies turn partly to mostly sunny across the region. So it's nice to know this radar network is not going to get a workout like it did the other night as we continue through the rest of our Tuesday evening. 7th range line, beautiful sky. We'll call that mostly sunny. 72 in Joplin, a north wind to 18, gusting to 29. It's bringing in much drier air, making it comfy outside with that humidity at 35%. Most of us are in the lower 70s right now, a couple mid 70s once you hop west of US 69, or I'll make that west of US 75. That's probably more appropriate. A couple upper 60s trying to pop up already around Table Rock Lake. But no matter where you sit, all these numbers are running 14 to 20 degrees cooler than where we were at this time yesterday, when we were still seeing temperatures in the upper 80s to lower 90s. The primary reason, the northerly breeze behind the front sustained at 10 to 20 miles per hour, with gusts trying to push near 30 at times. But that breeze is going to lighten up tonight, sending us to 64 by 8, 57 by midnight. I think we have a cool night lined up, with most of us dropping back into the upper 40s, if not near 50 for overnight lows. So we'll enjoy the quiet evening we have lined up as the main front continues to push well to the east of the region. High pressure's in control. That'll keep us plenty sunny for tomorrow. And not to mention, we're finally back on the cooler side of the jet. We'll hold on to that for a few days before we see temperatures go back on the warming trend as we go through the rest of the week. As far as temperatures go, and the rest of the evening goes for that matter, we'll call it clear skies for the rest of the evening and into Wednesday morning. But again, the clearing skies, the low humidity, and that light breeze out of the north means lows around 49 degrees. So definitely jacket weather to start your morning out. But look at how nicely we warm up throughout the day, despite a north breeze at 5 to 15. 67 by noon, Joplin topping out at 72 degrees. Most of us will be in the lower 70s for another nice looking Wednesday afternoon. Not a bad start to the fall season. Now let's look down the road. Here's Thursday. The jet stream's going to try and work back closer to us, so we'll go mid to upper 70s. Still quiet for Thursday. And even though some cloud cover may try to work in over the weekend, as long as this ridge builds back in, we'll have highs back near 90. And then I want to keep an eye on the possible storm system by Tuesday, where that could potentially be our next best shot for any rain or thunderstorms. But looking just downright good for the next few days. 72, sunny skies tomorrow, 76 Thursday, back into the mid-80s to start the weekend out, and a temporary journey back near 90 for Sunday and Monday now.
Loving these cooler temperatures.
I know, they look really good.
Thanks, Nick. More earthquakes have rocked Spain's Canary Islands, speeding up evacuations as a volcano there is leaving a huge trail of destruction. Since that volcano in the Palma blew on Sunday, smoldering lava, some as high as 20 feet, has destroyed more than 150 homes. Fortunately, no one has died, as Spanish authorities evacuated close to 6,000 people, as well as livestock, ahead of the lava. Damage from the volcano has already topped $470 million. Scientists say the lava flows could last for weeks or even months. Coming up, toy shipments are being delayed as manufacturers deal with supply issues. First, though, we honor a local veteran. Sheridan Rhodes served in the U.S. Army during World War II. The Humboldt, Kansas native was stationed in China, India, and Burma, and we salute Sergeant Sheridan Rhodes, a four-state hero. Topping today's Consumer Watch, stocks steadied today after suffering their worst single-day drop since May yesterday. Among Wall Street's concerns is a crisis for one of China's top real estate developers, Evergrande. The indebted firm is at risk of default on its interest payments, which could continue to have a ripple effect on the global economy. The developer currently holds more than $305 billion in debt, roughly 2% of China's GDP. And analysts expect Evergrande to miss more interest payments this week. Could have a harder time finding that toy on your kid's wish list this Christmas. Reporter Anthony Pura has more on the supply issues that are delaying shipments all around the world.
MGA Entertainment CEO Isaac Larian has an office filled with toys. But these days, the job is far from child's play. 85% of his company's products, like LOL Surprise and Rainbow High, are made in China, and getting them to U.S. stores is getting harder.
A lot of them are sitting in factories, factory floors in Asia. A lot of them are in containers on the way here.
The global supply chain is still playing catch up from pandemic-related disruptions, including factory shutdowns and a spike in online ordering. That's led to a shortage of shipping containers, causing prices to explode.
Last year, a 40-foot container cost $3,200. Now it's a bidding war. It's gone up to $22,000, $23,000.
Companies that win the bid face another major challenge. Dozens of ships carrying everything from computers and clothes to toys are waiting outside of Los Angeles area ports.
Containers.
Mario Cordero is executive director at the Port of Long Beach.
Only about 40% are on schedule because of the delays at the port of origin, whether it's China, whether it's Vietnam.
Once containers are unloaded, a trucker shortage is delaying shipments from getting to stores. When can we expect things to return to normal?
That's a good question. That period keeps moving up.
He believes the supply chain won't improve until next summer. Larian is now using air freighters to try and get toys to customers in time. And when it comes to holiday shopping,
my advice to parents, etc., is don't wait.
Because waiting could mean missing out on that perfect holiday toy. Anthony Pura, CBS News, Los Angeles.
It's going to cost a little bit more to send stuff with FedEx. The company announced its shipping rates are going up in January. These hikes apply to all U.S. domestic and U.S. export and import services. Home delivery is expected to go up nearly 6%, while freight customers may see an increase of almost 8%. In a statement, FedEx officials say these price jumps, quote, reflect incremental costs associated with the challenging operating environment. FedEx customers might also start paying more this year. In November, some FedEx shipments will have a fuel surcharge this year. Nearly 2/3 of homeowners who made their purchase in the last 5 years have buyer's remorse. That's according to a new Nerd Wallet survey. The pressure to make a quick decision is one reason for the regret, and the pandemic has only made that worse, with the average home on the market for just 18 days. Breaking the budget is also a huge regret. A final check of the forecast next. The CBS Evening News is next. Then on KOAM News at 6, we're going to have a more in-depth breakdown of who is eligible for a COVID vaccine booster shot. Plus an update on restoration work on the historic Olivia building in Joplin. And a federal appeals court considers whether Missouri can implement a sweeping abortion law. Stay with us for the CBS Evening News and then KOAM News at 6. Crowds lined the bank of the River Stour in Canterbury, England to watch the annual plastic duck race. The event, held by the local Rotary Club to raise funds for local and international causes, saw 4,000 yellow plastic ducks floated in the river. The race took place on a stretch of the river between Toddler's Cove Park and Westgate Gardens Bridge. We've seen similar sorts of events in this area. It seems people all over the world love those little plastic yellow ducks.
It's like we never outgrow them.
No, of course not. From the bathtub to the river.
Yeah.
Oh, the weather very nice out there.
Yeah, we might turn a little cool tonight, though, with lows in the upper 40s, but we're looking fantastic tomorrow to kick off fall. Sunny skies and high of 72. We'll say mid-70s Thursday, but we'll have to start heading back into the mid-80s as we get this first weekend of fall underway now.
Sounds great. Thanks for joining us. CBS Evening News is next, and of course, we're going to be right back here for KOAM News at 6. See you then. Let's make it a great evening.